Hello, everyone. Welcome to part two of the discussion on adults with autism. Let's get this slideshow pulled up. Okay, so as I said, this is the part two of our discussion on adults with autism. And today we're going to, instead of reviewing the history and the kind of what is autism, today we're going to start applying it to exercise and to physical activity and developing an exercise program for individuals living with autism spectrum disorder. To give you a little breakdown of how the next 20 or so minutes are going to go, we're going to start by looking at some unique exercise recommendations from autism, then some special program considerations when developing an exercise program for an individual with autism. And we're going to look at the benefits of physical activity and touch on both short and long-term benefits of physical activity for someone with autism. And then we're going to look at the negative side of things, short and long-term effects of an individual with autism if they do not get the appropriate amount of exercise to take care of their bodies. After that, we'll go into some practical applications and really look at some specifics on how to apply what we've discussed to an exercise program for an individual with autism. Then we'll look at a specific study and discuss what we can learn from it and how we can help individuals in that scenario expand and develop. And then I'll wrap everything up with a nice little conclusion at the end. So to start things off, when we talked about exercise in autism, in the previous discussion, we talked about their mental capacity, their social capacity, and their physical capacity. Some specific studies found some very specific things in regards to exercise and how to affect someone's ability to exercise when looking at these recommendations. So if we remember, with autism, one of the side effects, both socially and mentally, is sometimes that irritability and aggression that can come from the inability to process some simple things or understand simple things. And we talked about, and we'll talk about medications that reduce that irritability and aggression. It was also found that jogging 20 minutes a day over 4 weeks statistically significantly decreases that irritability and aggression in an individual with autism. And so we're going to look at jogging as well it's a really simple and easy beginning exercise that helps with irritability, aggression, stimming, and many different other aspects of autism. So jogging is a great thing to use, a great exercise to use. But on the flip side, something to not use for individuals with autism spectrum disorder is screen time and technology use. It was found in a study, a direct correlation when an individual with autism was utilizing technology, the more they were on their phone or tablet or whatever, the less they desired exercise, the less they completed exercise, caused them to not be able to exercise as much. So if you want them to exercise, limit their screen usage time. On the bottom right here, this picture right here where my mouse is circling, this is a gentleman who was in high school at a similar time as I was, Mikey Brannigan, who rose to fame and notoriety because of how fast he was out of New York. He was very fast for a high schooler, low 4-minute miles, which is incredible. But also he was autistic and was a very great voice for those people in the sport. And so he was an example that people have looked at of someone where jogging really helped him grow and develop with some of his needs through autism. Okay, some special considerations when developing that exercise program. Reward system is huge, something to really allow the individuals to have a extrinsic motivating factor. That'll help them, especially to get started. It'll help them get started before it develops and leads into something they desire on their own is huge. There's a study in 2015 about that they did some steps. We're going to go into great lengths of that study in a little bit, but it was a huge example, and we'll talk more about that, of these reward systems. One-on-one assistance is crucial. It's vital for individuals with autism when it comes to an exercise program. If they have low physical capacity, they are going to be in need of someone to help them do the exercises. If they have poor mental capacity, they are in absolute deep need of someone to assist them and encourage them step by step through their exercises. And if it's a social capacity issue, having someone one-on-one they can rely on will promote them to be able to communicate better and not overwhelm them. So when looking specifically at a new activity, that one-on-one assistance is huge in helping them learn and develop in that activity. And then when looking at group activities, it's vital that they have a partner or a buddy, as we've talked about in the past, and we'll mention more, a buddy who's going to help them learn the activities and be encouraged to participate in the activities. One-on-one is so important for an individual with autism spectrum disorder in their exercise programs. Parental assistance is just so important. Having parents who are supportive, who are, they don't push, but they do to an extent encourage their child, now adult with autism, to get exercise. It's just massive. Having that person to rely on to get them to and from activities, to follow up with them and be accountable for them is absolutely essential and crucial for individuals with autism spectrum disorder. And then also individualization is so important. Sit down with the person you're preparing this exercise program for and talk to them. Find out, do they like jogging? Do they like swimming? Do they like karate? What do they like to do? Do they hate exercise? How can you make it fun for them? Do they love to be on their phones? Do they struggle with communication? Find out where they're at and then adapt that program for their specific needs. Okay, looking at the benefits of exercise in a proper exercise program. I'm going to read this first little statement here because it just summarizes things very well. It says the short-term benefits of a properly prescribed exercise program for adults with autism spectrum disorder deals more with controlling symptoms of daily life. Long-term benefits focus on longevity and sustainability of joy in life. And so, expanding on that a little bit, those stimming issues, that aggression, that irritability, the lack of social ability, that short-term stuff, that's what an exercise program is going to help them deal with. Long-term learning how to grow and to be happy and to have overall health in their life, that's the long-term benefits. So breaking that down, short-term, their cognition will be stimulated. That was a side effect directly related to jogging in the article from SOA in 2011, as well as those maladaptive behavior patterns, those things they do that are self-destructive, the aggression, the irritability, the stimming. Short-term, those can be reduced. And their quality of sleep can be increased as they're exerting their body to a point where it recovers and helps them grow. Again, looking long-term, their overall health is going to be improved. We're going to skip down and point out that it'll reduce their BMI, which I'll show in a study again that we'll dig in later, the reward study, as it's called. And then also their overall aerobic capacity is increased from physical exercise. That's a given, that's an obvious, but it's a positive benefit that's going to promote greater health throughout their life. What was also interesting is that it was found in a study that their satisfaction of life was increased. They were happier. Their quality of life was more joyful when exercise programs were completed and adhered to for a long period of time. And a great example of that is I've attached here Daniel Antonsen here in the bottom right. He's an autistic bodybuilder from Northern Europe, and he started bodybuilding as an outlet. And over time, not only has he grown to much success and fame from bodybuilding, but it's helped him with the short term, the symptoms of daily life, but also the long term overall health. He's very happy, very satisfied, and has a little bit of a higher uh, responder to exercise and higher capacity individual with autism. He has actually found, and he's gotten married and has children and is able to have a full and excellent life. And a lot of that he gives credit to exercise bodybuilding as a younger man that helped him develop and grow in this way, which is really neat. A great example, a really cool guy. All right, let's talk about the risks of not exercising, of poor exercises, poorly executed exercise programs. And we're going to talk short term. And then the next slide, we're going to talk long term. Short term, the biggest red flag looking at an exercise program is if you do not factor in the side effects of the medication an individual may be taking. Step one in dealing with almost any individual that has some sort of chronic disease is identifying what medication they're on and how that affects exercise in an individual. In this instance of autism, specifically risperidone, causes the body to not recognize when it's overheating, and so it won't automatically cool itself off. And so you have to watch for that, because if you don't, it leaves the person at risk of heat exhaustion or a stroke, which would not be a good side effect of an exercise program. And then the short-term risk, when you're looking at short-term exercise programs, if the program is not long enough, they are not going to see a positive side effect from what they're doing. We talked about jogging for 20 minutes a day for 4 weeks showed that increase or that decrease in irritability and aggression. But if they do it for 4 weeks and stop jogging after that, they may see a slight reduction during those 4 weeks of their irritability, but it's going to start coming back immediately the second they start jogging. They're going to start feeling it come back more frequently into their lives. Now, if they're able to maintain that for a longer period of time, as we discussed with long-term benefits, they're going to see that positive effect stay with them. And then looking short-term, if they're not exercising, an individual who's overweight or underweight is going to see no benefit in their life. They're going to stay at that level, and they're not going to be able to properly affect themselves with sleep, with dieting. Their diet's not going to be encouraged to improve. Exercise has been found to be a catalyst to improving a person's diet as you desire to fuel yourself appropriately while you're exercising. Those long-term risks, now looking at it, weight maintenance is a huge one for individuals. We talked about, if you think back to the first presentation, we talked about weight maintenance and that individuals with autism spectrum disorder are actually usually more overweight or underweight when compared with the general population. And so an individual who's wanting to gain weight or lose weight, if they are not in a properly executed exercise program or not exercising at all, are going to see no benefits, because weight maintenance is not something that can happen overnight or in a short period of time. Extended periods of adherence to this goal is absolutely necessary for weight maintenance. And then looking at health long term, without exercise or proper exercise, they will stay at a higher risk for cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and obesity, which would just be most unfortunate to have an opportunity to control these things and not put them back kind of in control in your life. Now, let's talk a little bit more specifics about what we've just reviewed as a whole. How can we apply some of these things to an exercise program. If we were to sit down today and say, I'm writing an exercise program for an individual with autism spectrum disorder, I would give these 4 points as the first 4 steps in developing that program. Step 1, sit down with the patient. Over and over and over again, this is seen as more and more crucial because when you think about it, nobody's going to want to do something that they don't want to do. So talk to them about what they like, what they enjoy. Is it jogging, like we talked about with Mikey Brannigan on the slide? Or is it lifting, like we talked with Daniel Antonsen? What do they enjoy? And it doesn't have to be some of those cookie cutter ideas and identities. Think outside the box. Multiple studies actually found and ID'd 2 specific exercises that are not generally practiced, but promote both adherence in individuals with autism spectrum disorder and also significant positive side effects and benefits when completed by individuals with autism spectrum disorder. And those things are martial arts and horseback riding. The correlation between why these 2 specific items were found or are found to be more beneficial has not been studied and fully understood. But what is understood is the results. Adherence and improvements in health are directly correlated with these 2 items, which is awesome. What fun things to do. Horseback riding, martial arts. Excellent. So think outside the box. Anything that will get them to exercise, do it. Then having a buddy or an exercise partner is so crucial. It allows accountability. It allows a friend, someone to explain. It promotes adherence. And now coupling that with the parental support side of things, like I said, parents are crucial. It gives them that support. It gives them that buddy built in, someone at home, someone to go with. It gives them a coach. They might have a buddy with a friend, but it gives them a coach, somebody to teach them and to encourage them. And then that accountability is so crucial. Hey, did you exercise today? How did it go? Hey, let's go exercise together. Those are huge things to have when working with an individual with autism. Okay, let's talk about this case study I've referenced a few times. 2015, there was a study done. There was actually 2 studies in this specific article. We're going to talk about the first one. They had 3 men with autism, adults with autism spectrum disorder, who attended it was kind of a school. It was a school for individuals with autism. They had classes, lunch breaks, things like that to help them learn and grow and develop. And they were about average age 20 here. Before the study, their body mass indexes were 33.5, 33.3, and 34.2, which categorized them as obese. And so they grabbed these 3 men and they said, we want you to walk 10,000 steps a day to try and gain better fitness. There was a little bit of adherence. For the most part, it wasn't sticking. It wasn't working. They weren't seeing the results they wanted from the young men. So then they said, okay, every day that you hit 10,000 steps that we track, you get to pick a reward from this bin that we have. And all 3 of the men proceeded to hit these goals consistently for about a 4-week period, except for one guy. During the week, he was fine. When he was at school, when they gave him opportunities to go and walk, he was nailing it. So were his buddies. On the weekends, they were hitting their 10,000 steps. He was not. So they doubled that reward system and they said, if you come in Monday and show us that you walk 10,000 steps on Saturday and 10,000 steps on Sunday, you get 2 rewards or prizes from the prize bin. And he hit every single weekend from there on out until it got to Christmas break. They told the guys they didn't need to go home and do it over Christmas break, but he wanted his prizes so bad that he took his step counter home and walked over 10,000 steps every single day of Christmas break, except for Christmas Day itself. And he saw massive improvements in his BMI. After the study was taken, he was the individual who's listed second from 33.3 to 31.7. The first individual, 33.5 to 32.8. And this third individual, an improvement, not much, but all three did see positive improvements. So it's so important to respond and adapt to individuals. The first individual didn't need the rewards. It did increase his steps from about 11,000 to a 12,000 average. The third individual, great improvement, but didn't see too much of the BMI improvement. And then that middle individual, as I talked about, that huge improvement with the reward system and the encouragement of double rewards after the weekend, saw massive improvements in BMI and step average increasing almost to 15,000. Okay, let's wrap this up. Individualization is essential. Be creative in prescribing those exercises. If you don't know where to start with jogging. Get them out there, get them starting to exercise, see if they enjoy it. Giving them a buddy is crucial to helping them promote adherence and to stick to their program. Be aware of their medications. Be conscious of their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, and then be adaptable. Be ready to respond to their needs to help them become the individual they need to become to grow and develop physically and emotionally in their lives. Thank you.